Welcome to Dan Really Likes Wine with Pick and Pay, and what is probably the coolest location we'll ever do Dan Really Likes Wine is. Now, I know I've said that about a dozen times in the last year or so, but this is going to take some beating because we are sitting in a dry riverbed in the heart of the Kruger National Park, and with me, two good friends. One of them is an icon who I think most people didn't believe was real. They knew the name, but they thought he was a myth. It turns out he is indeed real, and the other is very real, as many South African cricketers know to their demise, having played against him over the years, who's now changed from cricketer to conservation icon. Ken Forrester, Kevin Pietersen, good afternoon.
Hey.
Hi Danny, how's it?
Nice to be back.
Well, it's great to be here. Let's work out exactly why we're here, Kevin. It's a beautiful spot. We've got some lovely wine, but it's more than just hanging out and tasting some great South African fare.
Yeah, we're here for the legacy experience, the experience of honouring the ranges, the fallen ranges that have fallen, and also to protect the wildlife in this magnificent park. It's a World Heritage Site. It is a place that has become so dear to my heart over the last 6-7 years now, and my love affair with Africa, South Africa, has really gone to new heights. I'm even now sat here talking about a South African winemaker. I mean, Jesus, I didn't think it would get that bad. I really didn't.
Wait till we make the KP Reserve.
Yes, she's on her way.
He was a reserve on many occasions. As he selected me. What's probably most impressive is that a kid from Maritzburg is now becoming something of a wine aficionado. You've got a terrific wine list up at Umganu Lodge, and over the last few years you've discovered a real love of wine.
I do. I absolutely love wine, and I think in I wouldn't say the latter half of life, but through this sort of middle stage when I am creating experiences for people, and I have Umganu Lodge, which is on the banks of the Sabi River. We needed to design and develop a wine range, and ably assisted by your very good self. We've got Mr. Forrester is proudly positioned in the lodge among some others, and we're very, very proud of what we do.
Oh, Mr. Forrester, you're doing a great impression of an American tourist on holiday in the bush, but behind the wardrobe...
And this bush khaki is as old as you.
All right. 27 and counting. I think many people thought Ken Forrester was just kind of a brand name, but Ken Forrester does not just very much exist, but you're here with us for what is both a cause and a friend who I know mean a great deal to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've been coming to the bush for years. As a kid I grew up really very close to the bush, and to have an opportunity to be able to give back, to be able to help out, to be able to support and congratulate and just be there for other people, I think is so important.
And you do a lot of it. Last year at this event we sold a barrel of your wine for an obscene amount of money, way more than I should have paid for it, but it was all for charity, so that's fine. And we're doing it again, but although this is a particularly special event, I do see the Ken Forrester name pop up time and again at philanthropic events. You've got a real sense as a brand, as a company, as a person, of getting behind those initiatives like this one that are improving the lives of others.
Now we have a love for two things, especially education, and beyond education, for the bush and for the natural environment. We do our very best to support those causes. We run with schooling events and schooling stuff going on around us, educational stuff. Even as far up as in Natal, we work with a couple of schools in Natal. But to be able to just go back and support and to create a better future, to hope to create an opportunity for a better future.
Well, you've got the ideal opportunity today to combine those two loves, because we are in the bush and you're helping the education process of Kevin Pietersen, who grew up in Pietermaritzburg.
I was going to say, what's wrong with Natal? As far up as Natal. What's wrong with Natal?
Look, when you live in the Cape, everywhere is very far away. You've got a whole range of wine. We're going to try just the three of them today. You've got your famous Shannon, you've got your red, but we're going to start off with this, the Sparkle Horse. Tell us about that.
So Chenin Blanc has long been known as the workhorse of the wine industry. So I wanted to make a sparkling wine from Chenin Blanc. But I got my thumb on the safety catch here. Very important. These are dangerous.
I don't think you need to if you're aiming at Dan. I really don't think you need to.
I've hit a few people.
You thought he'd go, yeah.
I thought a rhino had been taken.
Oh, goodness. Oh, very good. Done that before.
So you see, you got to keep that thumb on there. But I wanted to make a sparkling from Chenin only, and
which is unusual.
It is unusual. There's not a lot of them around. There's 2 or 3, and it really lends itself to sparkling wine, to great sparkling wine. It has this wonderful green apple flavour, and I'm going to reach for a wine glass not a champagne flute.
Okay.
Champagne flutes, they're kind of done. Nobody does this anymore. What we're looking at now, remember, all sparkling wine, champagne included, used to be wine before it became champagne. So if you look at a sparkling wine, you can get all the flavors in a big glass. You've got so much more to nose and smell. There's so much more to the wine that the big glass makes a huge difference.
I thought it was just that guys drink more now. Guys and girls,
I think that's Ken's ulterior motive, having spent some time with him. But you're right, and you're finding that with not just this. I spent some time with Butz Nell from De Krantz the other day. He was saying exactly the same thing with our Cape Vintage, our port style. Yeah. Opens it up, gives you a chance to appreciate it.
Remember those tiny little port glasses?
They were horrid.
How are you supposed to get not even your nose into that? Impossible.
Pinocchio.
Kevin, what I love about what we're able to do with Dan Really Likes Wine is we're just trying to take wine to absolutely everybody, knowing that every wine is a home for somebody, and you're somebody who doesn't pretend to be a wine expert, but you do love your wine and you're enthusiastic about it. So you're trying this. What do you think of it?
I like it. I mean, I've got some up at the lodge, and I like a drink that's easy to drink. And when it goes down, it still remains comfortable. I don't like something that gives you the shakes, gives you the jitters. But I mean, my philosophy on wine is if I drink not great wine with great people, it doesn't matter. If I'm drinking great wine with people that I don't like, then I've got a bit of an issue. So it's more about the company that surrounds the opening of a bottle, and that's I mean, you said I'm a Maritzburg boy, so I'm not one of these guys who is too obsessed or fussed about going to pay ridiculous amounts of money to drink something. It's the company that I'm around, and present company. This is wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you, Kevin. So the second time I've had this, I had some of it a couple of months ago. What I love about Chenin in its original format is that beautiful depth and creaminess, and it's just such a wonderfully distinctive South African grape that you do so well. And this is a great translation of it. It's just it's everything you love in Chenin, just effervescent and gorgeous.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. You know, Chenin is said to taste of crunchy green apples. I really think this is like a golden delicious apple. You get a mouthful of this, like biting into that apple.
Yeah,
so
true,
fresh, so true,
light.
Yeah,
and it is
so
light.
true.
Yeah, I think without really trying to oversimplify what you're making, if you're thinking, well, what does this taste like, without giving you the kind of, well, it's late autumn in Paris at about 4 in the afternoon, which means absolutely nothing. This is more, if you can imagine a not terribly sweet appetizer that's got a nice alcoholic kick to it. That's kind of the direction it's sort of headed in.
It's stunning.
It's got a delicacy to it, but it's still that lovely freshness.
Perfect, thanks, man. Yeah.
What? So you're celebrating with this then, Kevin, as you look back across the career. What's the innings? What's the game you're opening this bottle for?
I'm opening this bottle after after losing to South Africa in that first series that we lost to South Africa, and walking away man of the series.
Was that the one when you arrived and you appeared to have a skunk surgically attached to the top of your head?
Well, that came halfway through the series. Yes, that came halfway through the series. But it always tastes good when you're playing nicely. So we're in Africa. That I think was probably the only good series I had in Africa. So I'm going to have to celebrate that series.
Perfect.
I have to.
All right. Well, cheers to that, and cheers to a lovely bubbles.
Beautiful.
We'll be climbing into a little more of that, I've got no doubt.
Yeah.
The wine that you are most well known for is your Chenin Blanc, and we've got to a stage, I think, Ken, it's fair to say, where not just South Africa, but the world is really appreciating the calibre of our Chenin. There was a time when it left over from making brandy, and it's nice and cheap, it'll give you a hangover for 4 days, but it's not something that you'd ever think about as a classy or elegant or upmarket wine. That's changed dramatically over the last number of years, and I really feel your FMC has led that particular charge.
Damn, we're nearly 20 years down the track with FMC. It's been a journey. It came of a fleet-footed idea with my good friend Martin Miner. I said to him, okay, so how do we make the best white wine in the world? And he said to me, whoa, you only just got there. Like maybe 40 years' time, your children, grandchildren. That's how that works. I'm going, what are the rules? Why? I want to make the best white wine in the world. You're like the smartest winemaker I know. Surely we put these things together, drive it with a great vineyard, we can come up with something truly exceptional. And we tried. We spent 3 years, and we called this thing Chenin Project. on a handwritten label. And we tried for 3 years, and we made wine each year for 3 years that was absolutely disgraceful. It was terrible. And then finally, in the 2000 vintage, we took it to London. And this fellow, Matthew Jukes, English journalist, a writer for the Daily Mail at the time, wine buyer for Bibendum, tasted this wine, and he was absolutely enthralled. Absolutely enthralled. And he confirmed that we'd nailed it, that we got something quite special.
And I'll tell you how I know as well that this is something quite special. You get asked in all these quizzes that you go around the world doing, talking to journalists, and what's your favourite restaurant? Well, Zuma in London is my favourite restaurant, and I think it's the favourite of a lot of people around the world. And guess what's in Zuma? The Big Lad. The Big Lad. It's a little bit more pricey than you would get at my lodge or anywhere in Africa. However, it deserves every penny.
Zuma's a great supporter of ours, and
it's amazing.
And what about the restaurant?
You know, one feature of Zuma in Knightsbridge is these massive boulders, Dan.
Before we get into any more trouble on this particular show, let's have a crack at it. It's as you pour it, and I'll invite you to do so. Kev, there's a lovely little Scandinavian restaurant called Aquavit just down the way from Piccadilly Circus. Okay. They've got this in there. It's about 75 quid a bottle.
Guess how much it is in
Which
Zuma?
is about 74 quid a bottle more than here. What's it in Zuma?
£85.
85 pounds.
Yeah.
That's 29,807 rand 50.
That's it.
That's obscene.
That's exactly right.
You could buy it at Per Se in New York.
Yeah.
3-star Michelin.
Thomas Keller.
Yeah, Per Se, 3-star Michelin.
But when you drink it, listen, you know it's real.
For me, $190.
$190 at Per Se.
That's all.
It is Per Se. It's Thomas Keller. You're going to pay everything there anyway.
Did you want
All
some?
Yeah, my glass is looking a little empty there, if I may. And interestingly, when I chatted to the manager at Aquavit in London, £75, I ordered a bottle for my client. You'll love this. He certainly did. And I said to him, a little nervously, because I wanted the answer to be positive, but I thought, you know, it's a little South African wine. Are you selling much of it? He said, I can't stock this stuff fast enough.
Yeah.
And I think what you've captured, we've got to a space where a lot of people still enjoy their Sauvignon Blanc as an easy drinking wine, maybe a little too acidic for me, but it's kind of the entry level stuff. But a lot of people's palate with white wine has changed. They don't want the Chardonnay, but they found that beautiful middle ground in a Chenin Blanc.
Yeah.
It provides, this wine particularly, provides a richness, a fullness. It might even be Chardonnay-esque in the way it's made because it's barrel fermented in wooden barrels, big French oak barrels. And then after a year in barrel, we select the best barrels and we put those best barrels together to give us what we believe is the greatest wine we can make from that selection, from that choice. It's a limited production. I wish we could make more. The vineyard was planted in 1970. It's a little bush vine vineyard, small yields.
Down there where we were in January.
Yeah.
Went down in January.
So
went
you
down
spent
to
some
Ken
time at
Forrester,
Ken Forrester.
Went down, and one of the brilliant auction prizes last year was that barrel of wine, where we had the opportunity to go and create our own wine, talk to Ken, meet Ken, and go and basically fill your boots one evening during the test series, Pakistan, South Africa, and I wasn't very good on the mic the next day. However, I was pretty good the night before, and we had the most amazing time. And Ken has so generously given us another barrel to auction off this evening, and I think I might have another one. I might have it again.
All right. Well, look, that's a particularly busy time of the year for you because you're all the way through January, you're harvesting, and that comes after December when you spent a lot of time in department stores with kids on your lap asking you what they want for Christmas. So by the time you get to the end of January, you've had a lot of work done, but you're then ready to get this made. You said what, about 12? Maybe 15,000 bottles of this made a year?
Yeah.
All right, so it's
the
relatively limited.
Yeah.
And aging potential, which I think is great. Some of the nicest FMC I've had has been 4, 5, 6 years old, if not more.
Older too. I mean, you could buy this for your 60th, it'll be fine. It's only 4 or 5 years time, obviously.
Yes, so this gets 1 star on Dan Really Likes Wine rating. All right, so you like this one, Kev?
Beautiful. It's an absolute banker. Magnificent. Real good. I like it this well. There we go. We've got a real drinker on this table.
Kevin is all about subtlety when it comes to his wine consumption, and that glass has disappeared.
I drink
We're
a
going
bit
to
too
move on.
quick.
I think this
Too
is
quick.
the FMC is my favourite, but I know of all of them, the one we're going into now, Kevin, is the one that you particularly like.
Yep, yeah, this is the one that I think we chose for the barrel last
Yep.
year, and it's going to be full, and we're going to get the most
There it is.
magnificent bottles, the big ones, aren't we?
Big
Real
ones
big
coming,
bottles,
yeah.
small bottles, gifting
The whole
bottles. Cannot wait.
Yeah, it's all set
Cannot
up.
wait.
All set up.
Called the Legacy Reserve 2018. This will be the Legacy Reserve 2018
And we've got the 17 in bottle for you last year, 18 coming. up this year.
coming this year. There we go.
So this is
That's how much I
Gypsy.
know.
This is Shiraz, Mourvedre, Grenache, if I'm not
Perfect,
mistaken.
absolutely. Yeah,
So
Syrah.
a lovely, soft,
Grenache.
more Rhone style.
Driven by Grenache.
Yeah.
Grenache is a grape that people haven't heard a lot about. Think of Châteauneuf-du-Pape, mainly the same sort of grapes, Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre. Think of the Côte de Rhône, same sort of grapes. So it's Rhone styled. Climate-wise, where we are in Stellenbosch, we're Rhone styled. We have a Mediterranean climate by definition, winter rainfall, long dry summers. And these grapes work in those circumstances, in that climate. This vineyard, particularly the Grenache vineyard, is right up on a hilltop north west of Cape Town, about 200 kilometres northwest of Cape Town, in a place called Pikeniewskloof.
Which is becoming a real cult space for wine, isn't
A
it?
special little space for older vineyards. This vineyard was planted in 1959.
And this, if I'm not mistaken, it was Pikeniewskloof Grenache. We always talk about Napoleon with his Constantia obsession with the sweeter stuff, but he actually had access to some Pikeniewskloof Grenache when he came through the Cape
There you go.
from a few hundred years ago.
Yeah.
So it's got a real history,
Yeah.
both as a grape and that particular area.
Can I ask a
Amazing.
question as certainly not as an expert?
Is this red or white? This is a red.
No,
Kevin.
no, this is, well, it's not actually red. However, bottle caps, not corks.
Yeah.
Why?
It's simply a sign of quality. Cork, as lovely as it is and as great as it's been over the years, is simply unreliable. You will open,
Unreliable meaning what?
meaning you'll open a bottle that's absolutely delicious.
Yeah.
You'll open another bottle of the same wine, and it won't be anything like that.
Okay.
So you get this variation due to
Okay.
the fact that cork's a natural product, and every one is different,
Gotcha.
and therefore you just can't be consistent
Gotcha.
with cork.
Okay.
But is it fair to say that the corking seems to have deteriorated, perhaps as more and more corks are made, and that I've got more chance of opening a 30-year-old or 40-year-old bottle of Stellenbosch Red that's going to be in great condition, where quite frequently I open a 15-year-old bottle and I don't find it to be quite so good.
And I think the cork industry's got such a shock with screw caps that they've come to the party in a big way, and they've upped their game considerably in the last 5 years, possibly 5 or 10 years. There was a time, probably in that middle space, where the corks were just shocking. It was almost as we felt victimized. We felt like they were sending us their worst corks to South Africa. And there was a time when, boy, I tell you, during the early 2000s, cork was a major problem. You're looking at 10% of your wine corked.
Wow.
It was big. You know, we went to screw cap because of bad cork issues.
And it's I think you've seen a big transition that the French still hold off, but Australia is a great example of a market that's completely embraced New Zealand as well, going for the screw cap, and the thought that, well, if it's got a screw cap it can't be quality has largely gone out the window.
Here's a real controversial thing. I'll probably get fried for it. But the only thing this does at the top of the bottle, whether it's a cork or a cap, whatever, is it closes the bottle. There's no such thing as it ages the wine. Please don't, it doesn't happen. And somehow wine snobs seem to be people who know the least about wine, who
Yeah.
think corks are a great idea.
Yeah.
So it's inverse, it's quite inverse. The screw cap is the most efficient wine bottle closure known to the wine industry. It works fantastically.
Well, it's worked fantastically with the bottle we've had before. Let's now try it with this one. So, being the blend that it is, it's going to be a bit lighter. We're going to be probably really good red wine for a day like this when it's nice and warm on a winter Kruger's day.
What we try to do here, to get really geeky, is we try to give you a velvet fist in an iron, around an iron glove. We try to give you this velvet glove around this solid wine, really big wine. We want it as soft as possible, want it as drinkable as possible, but at the same time we need that physique and that power behind the wine. So it's elegant and powerful if that's possible.
I think you've got that right. It's also
Stunning.
a wine where you can take a degree or two off on a day like this, and without freezing it, as some people tend to do, just make it absolutely perfect to these sorts of conditions.
Pop it in an ice bucket, 10 minutes before you want to open it, or 15 minutes, and it'll come out at the perfect temperature.
I have to agree with you, Kevin. It is very, very nice.
It's a goodie,
indeed.
isn't it?
Yeah, I could drink
It's
a
an
little more of that.
absolute beauty.
And in fact, I probably will, but before I do that, we do need to wrap up. Just quickly, there'll be people watching here, not just loving the wine, but also loving the fact that you're in conservation in such a big way, and you've thrown yourself into it completely. I admire you enormously for everything
Thank
you've
you.
done in this space. If people want to get behind what you are doing, what's the simplest way for them to join the Kevin Pietersen bandwagon and help you to help conservation?
Care for Wild is a rhino sanctuary, which is a secret location here in South Africa that houses all the orphaned rhinos. When these guys go up, I think there's a couple of choppers that are just about to take off now on patrol. And when they go into a severely brutal experience of mum being killed or pet parents and there's a little baby running around, they helicopter that baby to Care for Wild. And, we do what we do. I do my own stuff in terms of fundraising, but I mean, anybody watching the show, have a look at the Care for Wild website, go to the Care for Wild website, donate to the Care for Wild website, volunteer to go and help Petronelle. I think she's one of the most greatest ladies in the world in what she does and how she goes about her business. She needs all the help she can get because these animals are being butchered on a daily basis.
It is a brutal, brutal space. It's why we find ourselves here in the Kruger. It's been a terrific few days supporting and helping Kevin and Mark Boucher in the work they're doing, getting behind the incredible team here in the Kruger and beyond in South Africa, taking on the scourge that is rhino poaching. But it hasn't been hard work, in all honesty, because we're amongst great friends.
We
We're in
are.
a beautiful location, and we are drinking some fantastic wine made by one of the icons of South African wine. He might look like
you,
Eugene
Ken.
Terblanche's younger brother.
Thank you.
He's actually Ken Forrester,
Cheers, buddy.
and he's given us some great wine. Kevin,
Well
Ken,
done, buddy.
Cheers, man.
cheers.